are familiar with the Emergency Volunteer Corps and how it got started, but just in case you're not, in 2008 there was a very violent storm that took place along the coast here. And we were isolated for quite a while, 7 to 8 days, without electricity. It was a mess. After that storm happened, Linda Kozlowski, who's unfortunately not able to be with us today, recognized that there was a need in the community for better emergency preparedness. Our first responders were overwhelmed. People didn't have the kinds of supplies they needed to have in order to survive some kind of disaster. And then all of a sudden we started hearing about this Cascadia earthquake thing. That gave it some energy. And here we are today. How many years later, Brad? 18 years later. And we've made incredible progress in the community. However, not everybody is as prepared as we'd like them to be. And so we are so grateful that you're here today to hear about how you can be even better prepared. And we have a dynamite speaker for you to hear from today. I'll only be up here for a little while and then I'll let him take over. So our mission for our organization is to create a culture of preparedness, and you all help us do that by being as prepared as you possibly can be. We want to raise awareness about the risks of living here and how you can be as prepared as possible. We have tons of information on our website, lots of classes for you to take advantage of. The representatives here, our volunteers, do amazing work. If you haven't stopped by to talk to Kim, she's our water, sanitation, and hygiene queen. Does an amazing job with her work. Her classes are fabulous. Karen does an amazing job with go bags. If you don't have a go bag, you need to have a go bag. And Yellow Radio, Bernard? Michael, sorry. He can answer all your questions. I called it wrong. We changed the name. Marketing is going to be the death of me, I swear. Neighborhood radios, they help you communicate in the event of a disaster. So if you if you don't have a neighborhood radio, I invite you to take a class and learn more about that. And then CERT, Community Emergency Response Team, you'll learn all kinds of information about how to help others in an emergency, how to extend the reach of our first responders. A great class. That effort's headed up by Joe Cooper, who was off in New Zealand. How dare she? But that's a great program if you have questions about that. Mary Moran is wandering around here somewhere, and she can help you. And then the Medical Reserve Corps. If you have medical training, medical experience, our Czarina of the Medical Reserve Corps, Velda Handler, is the person to talk to. She's an amazing force of nature. We also have an emergency food platform on our website that tells you about all the kinds of foods you might need to have in a disaster. Camping at home, technical assistance to cities is available, and Prepare Your Neighborhood, which I'll be talking about just really quick. So this work gets done with volunteers and with your generous support. Hopefully you've received our annual report and annual appeal. This work doesn't get done without you, and we are so, so grateful for your volunteer work and any financial support that you can give us. Your skills and talents are also needed to help us succeed. So if you're interested in volunteering, boy, could we use your help. See me or any one of the volunteers I just mentioned today after the presentation. So now a little bit about Prepare Your Neighborhood. Prepare Your Neighborhood is a grassroots organization that we started right after the 2008 disaster. And it's basically a group of neighbors coming together to help each other be prepared in case there's a major disaster. Okay. Oh, it worked. Yay. So there are 12 clusters throughout the Nehalem Bay area, and I'll explain what a cluster is in a minute. It's kind of a funny word. This program started as a way to help make sure that everybody in a neighborhood knew their neighbors well enough to find out if they were in a disaster situation, who had what supplies, who would need what kinds of help, and how to go about making sure that the neighborhood was well prepared. So clusters are just neighborhoods that are organized into these groupings. There are scattered around the area. Some of the clusters have caches, emergency caches, and I'll talk more about that too. If you think you're in a neighborhood like this, that an organized group, a cluster, raise your hand for me. Oh, yay! So you know a lot about this already. Cool. So I won't talk too much about it then. So basically, we're just trying to be supportive to each other in the event of a major disaster. These are where the clusters are. I'm in the Sunset Meadow cluster, the one at the very top, number 1, and you can see they're kind of scattered all the way through the area, all the way down into Bayside Gardens, which is a newly forming cluster. And we have some other clusters that are starting to get organized and get ready. There are also clusters in Wheeler and in the North Fork area, which you can't see on this map. Unfortunately, there are no clusters in Nehalem. So if you're living in Nehalem, come see me. So the best emergency equipment we think there is your neighbor. So getting to know your neighbor is a really important part of being able to survive in a disaster. Research does show that people will definitely come together during a disaster to help each other out because that's just a normal human thing to do. The species wants to thrive and survive, and so people will come together after a major disaster. So knowing your neighbor is really, really important, and being in an organized group is also a very comforting thing to do because you're with other people who are in the same boat as you, trying to make the best out of a really bad situation. So there are teams in each cluster, people who are trained in water, sanitation, and hygiene, people who have medical expertise, people who have emergency communication expertise, people who have organizational skills. These people get together. It takes a while to get a cluster organized and set up, but it can happen. And EVC is there to support that work through our Prepare Your Neighborhood program. Some clusters have neighborhood gathering sites. Let's talk about that for a second. These are places to gather after a disaster. Each cluster that I had on that map has such a place. It's different from an assembly area. An assembly area is a place that is just a place of safety to get out of the inundation zone. A neighborhood gathering site is up out of the inundation zone, and that's a place where neighborhoods would gather, and if there's equipment there, they would start the process of setting up a safe and secure place for people to be warm and dry and assess the situation and start doing the process of going door to door and see who needs what help. It's not intended to provide everything that you would need in a disaster, so you do have to take the responsibility for yourself and your family members or loved ones that you're as prepared as you possibly can be. I hate to tell you this, you probably already know, we are kind of on the end of the road here. It's not likely anybody will come to save us anytime soon. They just won't be able to. So it's really critical that you have all of the equipment you need to survive for at least 4 weeks. So that means food, that means clothing, that means medicines, and making sure that you're taking care of everyone in your family, including the furry ones, so they have the supplies and things that they need to survive. Such a down topic, isn't it? Let's talk about something happier. Like, you can have wine in your neighborhood gathering site if you want. Or lots of chocolate or peanut butter. So it's really important, because we are only as prepared as our least prepared neighbor, that everybody do take the steps to be as prepared as you possibly can be. So make sure you do have that go bag. Make sure you know your evacuation routes. Make sure you tailor your emergency supplies to your particular situation. If you live in an inundation zone, get in touch with that cluster leader or someone in that cluster so you can find out where their emergency cache is out, because they're located outside of the inundation zone. So that's my little spiel. This is all part of the puzzle of being prepared. We want to make sure that you understand your role and prepare your neighborhood, but also in your role in your own preparedness efforts. And now I'm going to introduce Steve Eberlein, who's our guest speaker. We're so glad to have him here. Steve is the Director of Organizational Resilience at Ethos. He's based in PDX, Portland, and he has decades of experience of working for the Red Cross and the delivery of these kinds of speeches that we're going to hear today. So, take it away, Steve. Big warm welcome for him.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good morning. I'm really glad to be here. I was here about 6 years ago, I think. I don't know if I don't recognize all of you, but I was here 6 years ago. This very room at the very beginning of my speaking career. And since then, I think I've probably done about 250 talks up and down the coast. And the reason I tell you that isn't actually to brag about how much I've spoken, it's to brag about y'all. Because there are 2 places I've seen on the West Coast that are notable. Place number 1 is Bainbridge Island, Washington. Okay, Bainbridge fans right there to the northwest. So the reason Bainbridge Island is so impressive is because they've got a person named Scott James, who I would call the Linda Kozlowski of Washington State, who has whipped that community into shape, doing many of the things that y'all are already doing. And the second place is here. I've been a lot of places. And the backbone of preparedness is leadership and organization, right? So I usually do these talks hoping that one of the people in the audience will take the horns of this thing and lead their community after I go back to Portland and go back to my life. Y'all already have that. You've been at it for 19 years. So I'm just here to point out to you all the amazing resources that have well pre-existed me being on stage today. So I'm just here to reawaken you to the reason we do this. I'm going to be very Cascadia focused. There are other things that happen, but my brain is all Cascadia, and you're going to see why it's all Cascadia based on my lived experience. So here's what we are going to discuss today. Doink, doink. You're going to need to click the screen once, Brad, somewhere in the screen, and then it'll light the sucker up. Doink, doink. Maybe I'm pushing the wrong button. Here, let's try this. Nope. Here, let's escape. Let's escape this too. And go ahead and launch mine again. Okay. You guys get to watch how the sausage gets made in real time. And now we're just going to hope a lot. Super graceful transition. So we're going to talk about the history and science of the Cascadia subduction zone. This is basically why you should believe in earthquakes. Even though you have not experienced a big earthquake on the coast, I need to just start by making sure that you actually believe in them, because it's hard to prepare for things that we don't believe in. And the truth is, not very many people actually believe in the earthquake. I promise you'll believe in it by the time I'm done talking to you. Secondly, we're going to talk about staying safe during the shaking event. More than drop, cover, hold. Okay, we need to make sure you don't get hurt. This is rule number 1. Yes, water is important. Yes, toilets are important. Yes, go bags are important. But before all that is don't get hurt. So I'm going to talk a lot about that. And third, we're going to talk about the aftermath, which is preparedness itself. And there's going to be time for questions. Okay, I'm going to give you all a breath to ask some questions after each section. You can take a bathroom break anytime you need. It's not going to offend me if you get up and go do your thing. Now I want to talk a little bit about my story and why I do this in the first place. I'm not one of those natural preparedness people. Okay, I really don't. I'm not type A. I don't make lists. I don't worry about anything. I just happened to go through something extraordinary many years ago on that tiny, tiny teardrop of a country called Sri Lanka, which is, of course, right below India. I moved there in 2002 with my wife. I was a Spanish teacher of all things, which is positively a bizarre thing to do in Sri Lanka. It's the last thing anyone needs. My wife was much more useful. She was actually an aid worker in rebel-held territory of Sri Lanka. It was a brief pause in their 20-year civil war. And at 25, she was rebuilding schools in Tamil Nadu. There I am as the Spanish teacher. We were there for 2 years, then we decided it's time to get out of there, right? We decided on Christmas Day of 2004, it's like, we're gonna move to Mongolia. Great. But then the next day, something happened that completely changed all of our plans.
The greatest epicenter was off the island of Sumatra in northwestern Indonesia, where more than 4,000 people are thought to have died. In Sri Lanka, officials say more than 3,000 people have been killed and more than 1 million affected.
I think all of you are probably old enough to remember the day after Christmas of 2004, the great Boxing Day tsunami, which was triggered by a 9.1 subduction zone earthquake off the coast of Indonesia, triggered a tsunami that hit 16 different countries all around the Indian Ocean, including Sri Lanka, our then home, where 35,000 lives were taken. That changed all of our plans. Lydia, already being an aid worker, she was a big part of the relief effort, and I left my Spanish teaching job to take a more junior role in operations with her organization. And as such, we saw every single square inch of tsunami-affected island in that year aftermath. And I can tell you, things are messy in the aftermath of a big event. The other thing I can tell you is that there's no one really out there who knows how to handle the aftermath and the relief effort well. The best and the brightest people were coming to Sri Lanka to launch this relief effort, and no one does it well because it's too late after a country has already been destroyed. What really makes the difference is every ounce of something that you do before the event. If you can do an ounce before an event, it's worth a pound after. If you send a pound of relief after an event, it's worth an ounce by the time it actually gets to people because it's a bit too late. So taking this lesson, after our 3 years in Sri Lanka and 1 year of relief effort, you can imagine we were burnt out and tired. So we came back home. We're native Oregonians. And ironically, only upon returning to the Pacific Northwest did we learn for the very first time that the Pacific Northwest is awaiting the exact same type of event that we had just experienced in Sri Lanka, namely a subduction zone earthquake, which would trigger a tsunami, the dual disaster. So it kind of felt like we're Oregonians who have already lived through the future, which is precisely why I do this talk. And the reason that British Columbia, Washington, Oregon, and Northern California specifically are all part of the same zone of earthquake is because we are along plate lines which form the Ring of Fire. And the Ring of Fire, all the places along the Ring of Fire are known for not small earthquakes, but the biggest earthquakes, such as Alaska, 1964, 9.1 subduction zone earthquake, Seward, Alaska. And you are an Alaskan. You were not there, but you were nearish there, right?
Oh, sure. I was in southeastern Alaska at the time.
Close enough. I was 13 years away from being born, so you were much closer than me. The Kamchatka region of Russia, 1952. 9-point magnitude earthquake that you never heard about because it took place during the Cold War and it was a big hush-hush earthquake. They managed to kind of say, no earthquake here. But this very same region has recently had a couple of major earthquakes, as we've seen, and they have triggered what? Distant tsunami alarms on the West Coast. So they don't keep their earthquakes nearly as secret as they used to. This earthquake we all remember well, 2011, the Tohoku earthquake. This is a mirror event. This is the west side of the plate doing exactly what we would expect in the Pacific Northwest, We might also remember New Zealand, 2010, 2011, 2 major earthquakes in Christchurch, New Zealand. It took them about a decade to recover the financial district of one of the largest cities in New Zealand. Going to the other side of the Ring of Fire, we have Chile, 1960, a 9.5 magnitude earthquake. This is by far, by a whopping margin, the largest earthquake ever recorded. And this is one of the most interesting, I think. Mexico, September 19th, 1985. Mexico, September 19th, 2017. Mexico, September 19th, 2021. The odds of that are 1 in quadrillion, trillion, quadrillion. It's a made-up number. It's impossible that they would have 3 major earthquakes in Mexico on the very same day. Statistically impossible. Good job, Mexico. Truly exceptional efforts. And this one, I'm pretty sure none of us were around for, but the last one, the most northernmost so far on the Ring of Fire, of course, the big one in San Francisco, 1905. Now, the reason that all of these earthquakes, every single one of them is related, is because they're all touching the same plate boundary. Okay, so we got a few plates in mind here. We've got here to the west, the Pacific plate. This is a whopper, okay? This is the one that cuts right through California, forming the San Andreas Fault. Goes all the way over to Japan, giving them subduction zone earthquakes. And to the other side, we've got the North American plate. Again, it's a whopper of a plate, okay? It's most of North America, Canada, Mexico, and goes all the way through Iceland. That's why Iceland is so famous for volcanoes, because the North American plate is stretching away from the Eurasian plate right in that spot. It's a whopper. You are on the North American plate right now. And the interesting thing about the Pacific Northwest is that it's not the collision of these 2 massive plates that's the problem. It's this little, teeny, tiny overachiever of a plate named Juan de Fuca, which is named for Juan de Fuca. This guy, listen, I'm going to give him a shout out real quick. He came closer than anyone to discovering the Northwest Passage, which Europe was obsessed with for centuries, right? He got the closest, and what's his reward? He gets a tectonic plate named after him, okay? And this isn't even his real name. He was Greek. He was under a Spanish ship, though, so they renamed him. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Here's what's going on. We've got the tension going on between the Juan de Fuca plate and the North American plate. Let me show you how this plays out. So there, we've got the Juan de Fuca plate, which is actually moving towards us right now at a rate of about 2 inches per year. And when the Juan de Fuca plate comes into contact with the North American plate, it actually is sliding underneath. It's a process known as subduction. And subduction zone earthquakes behave much, much differently than, say, California earthquakes. There are several reasons they're different. Let's take a look at some of them. Okay. First of all, there's the Juan de Fuca plate. If you go to Google Maps, by the way, if you go to Google Earth, like the shape of the Juan de Fuca plate is so obvious you can see it from a satellite map. It looks just like that. And right here, about 70 miles off the coast, that way is where you've got your subduction zone, where you've got the Juan de Fuca plate sliding underneath North America, where we're standing right now. So far, so good? Okay. Here we go. So there is our fault line. It's about 640 miles long. Now, that's not quite as long as the San Andreas, but the big difference between a subduction zone fault line and the San Andreas is that with the San Andreas fault, you might have 200 miles of fault line snap at once, which is a lot. That's like, ooh, that changes your weekend. But in the case of a subduction zone, the entire fault line can give way at the same time. That's one of the big differences between California earthquakes and subduction zone earthquakes. Let's keep going though. Let me get underwater. Here's another thing that makes it very different. That this is an earthquake that takes place underneath the ocean. So let's take a look at how this plays out. So over here, to the left, we've got the Juan de Fuca plate. Right here, we've got the North American plate underneath the water. The problem is, for one, the Juan de Fuca plate moves 2 inches a year towards us, okay? Here it comes, here it comes, here it comes. But the edge of North America is locked. So what happens is the edge of North America is bowing, 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 bowing as it pushes. You see that? You feel that tension? How long can it hold that tension? And what happens when the tension snaps? Well, I can tell you exactly what happens. Boom! It collapses. And when that collapse happens, it can start to unravel the entire fault line. So let's just pretend that the epicenter of the earthquake starts off the coast of Coos Bay, for example. What you see here is the fault line giving way as it goes north and south. And what you can see here is the ripples that take place coming towards Manzanita, coming towards Portland, coming towards Seattle. And it ripples and it ripples and it ripples. And as that fault line gives way, it releases more and more and more ripples. And you can see, if you look lower left, it might take 5 full minutes for the entire fault line to give way, which means potentially 5 minutes of continuous shaking in a place like Manzanita, as opposed to a California earthquake, which might be 30 seconds to a minute at most. Secondly, this is an earthquake that would impact a massive, massive region. Right? This isn't Manzanita's earthquake. This is Northern California earthquake, all the way up to Vancouver Island, Canada earthquake. So what does that mean for the response effort? You think about that huge geography. Okay, it's one thing to say, holy cow, San Francisco is on fire, send in all the units. It's a very different thing to say, uh-oh, we've got problems all the way from Northern California up to Vancouver Island, Canada. That's a much, much different event, which means that the resilience of the communities inside the subduction zone is absolutely critical. It's not that anyone doesn't care about Manzanita. It's about no one having power over time and space. When you've got the entire infrastructure that's absolutely shredded, you can't reach rural communities. And listen, I've looked closely at what's going on in Portland. I think Portland's in huge trouble. I don't think that we're going to be reached. Even though those bigger populations are going to be prioritized, I've looked close enough to say, uh-oh, we're in big trouble too, right? So the efforts of places like EVCNR, this is going to make all the difference. And I went off on a rant. Now I can't remember what the next thing is. We'll just see. I'll just keep clicking. How often and how frequent, how much should we be worried about this event? Because we haven't seen it in a long time. So we know that there have been about 43 major earthquake events in the Cascadia subduction zone in the last 10,000 years, which comes out mathematically to 1 every 243 years, but most scientists say it's about once every 300 to 500 years we should have a major earthquake somewhere in the Cascadia subduction zone, which usually leads people to ask something. When was the last one? I bet someone in this room has the answer. Yeah, you got it. So the last one was January 26, 1700 at 9 p.m. in fact. And the reason we know it's 9 p.m. is because it was chronicled by the Japanese They received our tsunami back in 1700. They called it the orphan tsunami because they could not figure out where was the mother of this tsunami that hit our shores at midnight. And it turns out it was the Pacific Northwest. And it was that little chronicle that really helped our scientists understand it's like, wait a second. Not only have earthquakes happen frequently in the Pacific Northwest, but we are in the window right now that it's quite possible that we'll see another. And even if we don't see another during your lifetime or my lifetime, the efforts of these organizations are going to be inherited by children and grandchildren. What we're trying to pass on more than anything is culture, which is a lot of the reason we have to keep talking about earthquake preparedness culture. It may not benefit you today, but it's going to benefit one of the generations of the future. I take a breath. Give me a question. What can I answer for you? What? Go ahead.
What are some other subduction zone earthquakes that have occurred?
Other subduction zone earthquakes?
I mean, besides ours, but recent.
Are you talking in other parts of the world?
Yes.
Okay, got it. Okay. So the recent ones in Russia were subduction zone earthquakes. We've got the 1964 event in Alaska. That was a subduction zone earthquake. Tohoku event in Japan, that was a subduction zone earthquake. Chile, 1960, that was a subduction zone earthquake. All of those were subduction zone earthquakes.
The immediate death rate from those much higher because of the prolonged shaking?
No, it's because of the tsunami.
So the tsunami takes...
Yeah, so the tsunami takes most of the lives. So take the 2004 event. That was a subduction zone earthquake, the one that my wife and I were on hand for. I guess, and listen, I'm just making this up, y'all, okay, so you can spot check me later, but I would guess like less than 10% of the deaths from that event were actual earthquake deaths. The grand majority of them were the tsunami. In fact, in Sri Lanka, the death toll, take Sri Lanka, India, and Thailand, where combined it was about 50,000 deaths. There would have been 0 deaths if it were the earthquake alone. 100% of those deaths were the tsunami. 100%. So yeah, it's the tsunami that makes subduction zone earthquakes especially pernicious.
Have we made any
Yes.
progress? Have we made any progress in our ability to predict?
Have we made any progress in our ability to predict earthquakes? The answer is essentially no. But as controversial as AI is, this is a place where I would suspect AI is going to help. Basically, it's just too much data to crunch. There's definitely got to be a pattern of things that happen before an earthquake. They just have not cracked the code as much as they've tried. However, while there's not prediction, there is early warning. There is something called the MyShake app. MyShake. Write this one down because I forgot to put it in the deck. MyShake. It comes out of Berkeley, UC Berkeley, and what it is, it's essentially early warning, which means that it's not prediction or a forecast of an earthquake. It's telling you, hey, an earthquake has already started to occur. You just haven't felt the shaking yet. So, and it can give you, in some cases, it'll give you like a retroactive countdown. It's like, we expect the shaking to hit you in 59, 58, 57, 56 seconds. And people find it like unbelievable, but MyShake is something that I would want to have on my phone. It's a free app.
I have 2 questions. Is the Juan de Fuca plate a subset of the big Pacific plate, or is it entirely separate?
The Juan de Fuca plate is an entirely different plate. In fact, it's a dying plate. Juan de Fuca plate will not exist one day because it will completely subduct underneath North America. But the good news for it gets reborn. It's something that there's a reincarnation process going on because the Juan de Fuca plate is becoming the Cascades Mountains. The Cascades Mountains. It gets digested and creates a volcanic branch. creates a volcanic range. That's the other crazy, interesting thing that subduction zones do. Find any subduction zone, you are going to find a line of volcanoes just inland of that subduction zone because the plate is being ground up, melted, digested, and thrown up in the form of volcanoes.
So my other question is, can we actually see or measure that buckling that's currently?
So I know that there has been measurement of the coastal uplift. I don't know what's been concluded from that, though. Yes.
I've heard that the current administration is firing scientists and that there will be less warning time because of the lack of people manning the warning system. And have other agencies or local agencies taken over whatever has been taken away?
I think we're in an in-between moment of the previous largely federally funded time and whatever is going to be its replacement. I can tell you that the staff that I know from the Pacific Warning Center, the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center, have been fired.
How high was the tsunami that hit Sri Lanka?
Oh, by the time it hit Sri Lanka, I think it was 20 or 30 feet, but in Indonesia, it was closer to 100 feet.
So basically Manzanita would be gone.
Manzanita is vulnerable. That's why I'm here, for sure. And y'all know where the line is, the tsunami line is in your neighborhood, and just quietly nod, and if you don't, just go along with it and find out as soon as you're done with this presentation, because everyone should know that border by heart. And every time you go over it, you just kind of breathe a sigh of relief. It's like, oh, it's good to be on the other side.
I have a question about, because my house is on that line, but I'm thinking, okay, when all that debris comes up because I'm on that line, how much of a risk am I at because I'm on that line? Do you see what I mean? It's like, should I be going up further?
Oh yeah, so however high I am, I'm gonna say, I wonder if I could get a little bit higher. That's what I'd say. It's like, leave some margin for error.
So I'm just thinking like the debris that comes up for that, how much further up should we be thinking?
I don't have an answer for that. That would be a question for your county emergency manager. I'd play a dozen questions with your county emergency manager to say, hey, what was it that made you formulate that line? And was it like calculated during a king tide? Because obviously it would be a higher tsunami than that. And my understanding is in most cases, yes, they take into account yearly conditions when they determine where those lines would be. But I don't have that level of detail.
How do you relate risk of an earthquake to something like crossing the street or getting struck by lightning?
You know, I don't think you should hold an aluminum bat in a lightning storm. I mean, so you want a serious answer. How would I relate the risk? So,
yeah, I mean, how do we go from a day-to-day risk occurrence to something that, well, maybe not in our lifetime?
Yeah, so here's how I look at it. I would say that, of course, it's uncertain, right? But it's kind of a question of common sense. That if I know that there's a risk of it, and I know that I'd be better off having sufficient food, water, and medication and community connection should this happen, and that there's actually immediate benefit to me having these connections in my community, that actually adds meaning to my life, then what's the risk of investing a little bit in it?
That's good.
Manzanita, pretty much a lot of Manzanita is old sand dunes. And so I'm wondering if the tsunami comes in, if that's going to be eroded. And so even though you're up high, you're going to get lower kind of fast.
I don't have that level that's a little bit too detailed for me. I'm not a geologist like some people in the room who come to tell me. It's like, I'm a geologist, I can point to you. But no, I don't have that level of detail. I'm sorry. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Let's go for an answer, a question I can answer.
Are you going to talk about the difference between like inundation and a physical wave that you can see? I mean, tsunami isn't necessarily like surf that we see.
Yeah, so let's keep going, and we'll get to it. We'll get to it now. You're saying, hey, let's get into the nitty-gritty. So let's start getting into the nitty-gritty. Let's start by talking about what to do during the shaking event itself, okay? So, I want to point out this is just a simulation. These aren't real earthquakes. This is the shake tables that they have in Japan to figure out, hey, what's going to happen during an earthquake? And as you can see, generally stuff falls over. And I think people underestimate how dangerous your home can be. Mannequins, not real people. How dangerous your home can be if you have not secured your furniture. Right? So I know we talk a lot about water, we talk a lot about food, we talk a lot about toilets. But first thing I want you to think about is the stuff that surrounds you on a daily basis. So at the very beginning of COVID, when we were all freaking out trying to figure out what to do with our time, I pointed my attention towards everything in my home. I was securing everything, okay? I was securing the bookshelves, I was securing the refrigerator, I was securing the bunk beds, I was stapling the kids' rocking chairs to the floor. It was craziness, right? But finally I asked, I went to a company and asked, it's what should I be securing in my home and what can I leave alone? And they had a really, really good answer that I want to point to you. So here are the questions. If something can hurt someone during an earthquake, you got to take care of it. Okay, this might be a bookshelf falling over, it might be a bowling ball coming off the top shelf, but let's just say, hey, what in this room could potentially hurt me during an earthquake, such as that projector falling on your head, for example? It's about situational awareness. That's one. Secondly, will it block an exit? Okay, let's just pretend you have a safe. Okay, the safe is not going to fall over and hit you on the head, but is it going to roll in front of your front door? Or is it going to block your access to your kit and your water, for example? That'd be something that you might want to secure. Next question, will it explode?
I'm thinking about water heaters.
I'm thinking about water heaters. I'm thinking about your gas range as well. If it pulls away from the wall and it severs your gas line, sparks, you got a problem, right? So these are some of the things we're thinking about. This is the company that I personally use when it comes to securing the things in my home. And I'm going to go full-on tutorial, because this is, no matter what community I go into, I find that people do not secure their furniture. So I'm going to give you a quick lesson in securing your furniture. We are in my front room. This is the back of my favorite piece of furniture. Okay, we're looking at the back of it. That's, of course, my jellyfish aquarium. Doesn't everyone have one? Now, first it starts with putting these buckles on the back of the furniture. This is a beautiful piece of furniture, by the way, and you don't have to scuff it up when it comes to securing it. So I've got these massive buckles on the back of this piece of furniture. Then what I do is I take a stud finder. If you don't have one, your neighbor does. Just go ask for it. And a stud finder, of course, will find those big beams inside of your wall that lie behind the plaster. Then you take these straps, you drill them into the wall, and those feed right through those buckles in the furniture. And the idea is that it's at least going to buy you a little bit of time. So I'd go through your home, get some safety-proof straps, find the biggest pieces of furniture that might fall over, and get securing them. Again, it's part of not getting hurt. Once I've done that, then I'm starting to think about drop cover hold. Okay, I'm just maximizing the number of places in my home that I could potentially take shelter. I want to talk about drop cover hold real quick as a concept, because again, if you don't believe in it, you're not going to do it. So the reason that you need to drop at the beginning of a strong earthquake is because, first of all, your body really wants to run. Okay, it's crazy, but your body just instinctively, the way you're wired is you try to start running to find a place where an earthquake is not occurring. It's not very close, y'all. You're not going to make it all the way to Idaho, okay? So don't run and don't fall down. The reason you drop is to lower your center of gravity so that you do not fall down. That's one. You're going to take cover. This probably seems obvious, but because there are, no matter what you do in your home, there are things that are going to fall. This is Santa Cruz, California. This is a classroom. This is a lighting fixture. Okay, you secure everything you can in your home, but things are still going to fall. You are taking cover so that you do not get struck by the things that are impossible to secure. And you are going to hold on to whatever you are beneath, because that object, such as that table, is also in an earthquake. If you don't hold on to it, it will get away from you like an umbrella in a hurricane. You drop, you cover, you hold on. And it takes some discipline and practice to get your mind there. I see we've got some law enforcement in the room, and they can tell you the importance of practicing your instincts, because right now, you are using a part of your brain, your prefrontal cortex, the smart part of your brain. The reason you've ever had a job or raised a child or driven a car is because you have a prefrontal cortex. And during an earthquake, during a really scary moment, your prefrontal cortex goes offline. Like truly. It's like gone. And what takes over are your amygdalae. Your amygdalae are the oldest, dumbest, most explosively decisive part of your brain. And what your amygdalae usually want to do are run, freeze, or follow the example of the most influential, confident person in the room. So if we had an earthquake right now, and here I am, the dude with a microphone, and I run like hell for that door, you're obviously all going to follow me, right? But it starts a chain reaction. And I'll give a really good example of how the brain works during an earthquake. This is Los Angeles, okay? This is a pair of anchors that were caught on live TV during an earthquake. And I want you to see what happens to their brains in real time now that I've just talked to you about this, okay? Here we are, go. Okay, I call this first stage the onset of awareness. When shaking starts to occur, the first thing your brain's going to do is go through a long list of all the other things that it could be. It's your bull mastiff running upstairs, okay? It's the moving truck that's going by. Your brain will go through a comprehensive list in about 1.5 seconds of the trillion things it would be before an earthquake, before realizing, oh, this is an earthquake. Boom, onset of awareness. Next.
You come down, and you're okay here. And it is going for quite a bit. Strong.
Boom, next. Fear takes hold. As soon as the nightly anchors start holding hands on live TV, you know that they're scared, okay? And the problem with this moment, this is when your prefrontal cortex is fully offline, okay? You are full lizard brain at this very moment and very, very influenced by other people's behavior. Let's keep going. This is called milling. Milling is when you start looking to other people's behavior to give you permission to know what you need to do. Okay? This is when, rather than doing what I know full well I need to do, I'm watching you. I'm watching you. I look back at Brad, and I'm trying to gather permission for myself, right? And normally, when people get scared, they're starting to do the wrong thing, right? So as soon as I get scared, and start gauging the room for my reaction, I'm probably going to do the wrong thing. Does that make sense? And finally,
all right, we're going to go to break. We'll be right back.
The action's taken. Listen, y'all, this is Los Angeles. This is Los Angeles. I bet these people have been through 24 earthquakes already in their lifetime. 24 probably. And look at that, sloppy. I've got another set of anchors. Los Angeles. Watch this. This happens fast.
More problems for a troubled player.
Boom. Okay. So I was able to talk to the person who worked with these two, and guess what? They practiced. They drilled. They made a conscious decision that if we ever experience an earthquake on air, we're going to get under the desk. They didn't flinch. And part of the reason that that's important, it's not only for them, it's for how they influence other people in the room. Okay? Because 4/5 of people are looking to someone else to help them make a decision when they're scared. When you see people decisively and really confidently do the right thing, other people are more likely to do the right thing as well. So part of that training is taking a trip through your house. Because you don't know where you're going to be, right? You could be a trillion different places. So I took a walk through the house with my kids several years ago. Hey, Jack, what are you going to do? It's like, well, we're in the dining room, Dad, and you're the preparedness dude. Of course, I know I'm going to get under the table. Good. Hey, Zoe, we're in the kitchen. What you going to do? It's like, well, there's nothing to get under. But I know that you have secured everything in the kitchen, and I know the spirit of what I'm trying to accomplish. I'm trying to lower my center of gravity. I'm trying to protect the most vulnerable parts of my body, namely my abdomen and the back of my head and neck. Boom, nailed it. Well, if you have a little teeny tiny baby, you're still going to drop, still going to cover, still going to hold small babies to your chest. This could also work for very small dogs. Don't go chase your dog. No dog chasing, but if your dog's right there, just put it to your chest, get under a table. If you're in a wheelchair, you can lock the wheels at the beginning of the shaking event. If there's a book or something, like a breadboard or something that you can cover the back of your head and neck, and then hold on during the shaking. Let's talk about your bedroom real quick. Are y'all fans? So there's probably 1 in 3 chance that you're right there, right? If you're lucky enough to sleep 8 hours, which I am not, but this is one of the most important places to protect. So anything that you'd want to change in this bedroom? Yeah, it's not a place for an anvil, people. So just as your parents taught you, anvils should be at the knee level or lower. Get the bed away from the window if you can. If you cannot, there is safety film. It's like a big transparent sticker that you can put over a window that won't keep it from breaking, but will at least keep it from shattering onto you. It's called safety film, window safety film, something like that. You'll find it if you know how to use Google. Anything else you change? Bookcase. Yes, that's another place that I would want to secure. Okay, then during the earthquake itself, you wake up, they're shaking, what do you do? Now, under the bed, let's talk about under the bed. How many of you have been under your bed in the last 55 years? Good on you, good on you. I got news for you, you don't fit. None of y'all fit, okay? And even if you did fit, how long is the shaking? Do you want a 500-pound bed jumping up and down on you for 5 minutes? Okay, you don't fit, and it's also a bad idea. So, yes?
Get under the mattress if you can. Or pull the mattress over to the side so you can get under the side of your bed.
It is rocking and rolling, man. It's rocking and rolling. You are just you're not up to it. So what I would simply do is flip yourself face down in your bed, grab the pillows, put them over the back of your head and neck, and then you're just gonna take a ride, okay? You're just gonna ride your bed as it visits every wall of your bedroom, and then voila, you're all done. Now there are a few things that I have in my bedroom just for earthquakes, okay? Hey, I got through the bedroom ride, and now I need to start making some decisions. So I've got a sturdy pair of shoes, ready to roll, sturdy. Nice laces, the whole deal. I've got, in anticipation of broken glass and debris, I've got some gloves. I've got a hard hat. That's what those are called, right? Got a hard hat because if and when I exit my home, I'm thinking about the chimney coming down the roof line, just getting through my home safely. I've got, of course, a first aid kit, and I've also got a crowbar. Do you know why? Probably not the furniture so much as that door. Because what oftentimes happens during earthquakes, in Northridge, California, 1994 is a good example of this, is your house gets all bent out of shape, and as soon as the door frame gets bent like that, you can't open your door anymore. It's pinched. So they were prying people out of apartments and out of bedrooms left and right with crowbars in the aftermath of the 1994 earthquake. So in California, they say, boy, you should probably have a 36-inch crowbar. They even have a number, a 36-inch. I would just say any old crowbar, y'all. Get a crowbar to make sure you can get out of your bedroom. Also, take the ugliest sweater that you have and put it someplace accessible as well. Always plan for January earthquakes. Not because they are more likely in January, but just because they're crappier in January. It is rainy, it is cold, and we love to plan for July earthquakes because they're so much more convenient. But we always want to plan for the toughest month of the year, so have those things ready to roll. Here's one more thing. It's going to be dark. It's going to be real dark. It's going to be an entire region power outage after this earthquake. So have a headlamp. I know everybody has a flashlight. Flashlights are dime a dozen, but flashlights deprive you of one really important tool, which is your hands. So have a headlamp. So this is my kit, just for under the bed. Just for under the bed. A couple pairs of shoes. There's the crowbar. First aid kit. A couple of pairs of headlamps. Sweaters. Ready to go. Just for getting out of the bedroom after an earthquake. Make sense? Mm-hmm. All right. Let's talk about being in your car. Feel like I shouldn't have to tell you this. You need to stop driving. Japan apparently takes earthquakes very, very casually. Just another earthquake, just another day, but you really should stop driving. People do get in wrecks. Pull over to the side of the road in the safest place you can. I know you don't have overpasses like this in town, but if you can avoid getting onto a bridge, if you can avoid being under an overpass, if you can avoid being right next to a building, those are all preferences when you come to stopping your car. But in almost all cases, you should remain in your car during an earthquake, because one of the things you're looking for is cover. Check. This is 2010 Chile, and as bad as this looks, these people, having remained in their cars, would be protected from a huge amount of rubble coming down on top of it. So remain in your car unless the situation is so obvious that you need to go out that your instincts tell you, I need to get out of this car. Any questions so far on shaking before I move into tsunami?
What was that company that you got your stuff from?
Safe. The letter T. Proof. Safe. T. Proof.
You just mentioned one of your favorite websites as you were talking about attaching everything.
Mm-hmm. It's called Safe. T. Proof. You're welcome.
I just wanted to say that I'm a dental assistant, and I was going to be flown out with my crew to identify bodies in the California quake where the bridges collapsed.
No.
And we were going to go by their dental records, and the teeth had been pulverized to powder, so the whole trip was canceled. So that's why you really need to cover your head.
You heard it there. That was the least uplifting thing said today. Goodness, man.
A lot of people think it's not going to happen to them, so they get on the brake.
It's an example of it happening fast, though, I imagine. All right. Anything else?
This is really a question for our local folks.
Go for it.
I want to have all of this done, and I keep thinking there's got to be somebody in town who does maintenance and who could specialize in this to help us all get our bookcases, so we don't have to figure out individually, and it would be a good business for them and be a very easy target market. And I just wonder if anyone knows of anything.
That'd be a great idea.
I don't want to have to figure it out, because I'm not a handyman, so I want somebody to do it, but somebody should target us all.
I frequently thought that there should be like a contractor who like does all the nooks and crannies of filling up your water tanks and refilling them as needed and getting your toilets ready and putting your bookcases against the wall properly. Anyway, there's a business waiting.
We have a TV on top of an old icebox. It's at an angle, so there's really no way to kind of secure it. Any suggestions?
TV on top of an ice. I don't think I've got a suggestion for that. I'm sorry. Go to Safety Proof. Really, they've got solutions for almost everything. Safety Proof, like they really made their name by figuring out how to secure MRIs for hospitals. They've thought of almost every single scenario. Anything else?
Yeah, I was looking for the MyShake app, and I saw one for California, but I didn't see anything for Oregon. Does that include?
Yes, it does include Oregon. It includes Washington as well. Yep. Okay. You ready? Here we go.
This is the right time for this, but at some point, can you talk a little tiny bit about your personal experience on like the day it happened and then the next couple weeks kind of thing?
I will end with that. How about that? So just look at me and say, promise me the ending remarks, and I'll see if I get emotional, because it was a dark day. Okay, let's talk about tsunamis. So we know, of course, that we're in a tsunami hazard zone. And if you're in a tsunami hazard zone, what we're measuring here is that you're in a zone for a local tsunami. Do we know the difference between distant and local tsunamis? Distant tsunamis come from places like Alaska, Russia, exactly, Japan even. And with distant tsunamis, we get warning. Like you will actually hear from the emergency manager, you'll actually hear on the news, it's like, hey, there's a small tsunami coming, it's gonna come at like 3 p.m. Local tsunamis, however, do not provide that type of warning. What is the warning sign of a local tsunami? Yeah, it's the shaking itself, okay? We're not waiting for sirens, we're not doing any of that. If you just went through a strong earthquake, you're going to assume that the next thing that is going to happen is a tsunami. How long do you have? We're gonna assume 10 minutes. Might be longer, okay? 10 minutes is the shortest end of the spectrum for the coast, so calibrate 10 minutes. So maybe up to 5 minutes of shaking, during which you're doing what? Drop, cover, hold during those 5 minutes. We cannot evacuate during a shaking event. Drop, cover, hold for those 5 minutes. The moment things are done, we are going to start uphill so that we can get ahead of that, the local tsunami. 10 minutes. So, as you can see, tsunami evacuation is all about vertical ascent, right? It is all about getting above the wave. You've got tsunami evacuation routes, and you're getting up to those, I'm gonna get the name wrong. Was it the cluster site?
Assembly areas.
The assembly, okay, hold on. The first place outside of a tsunami zone for you guys is called what? The assembly area, right? That just outside, and then the cluster site is where the actual cache is?
Yes.
Okay.
We have to go to 2 places. If we don't have a cluster, we go to the assembly area. If we are in a cluster, we go to what they call a cluster or neighborhood gathering site.
Perfect, okay? Your resources, right there. Me, I'm leaving. They are staying. They've got your answers. Let's all remember that. Here's what I do when I go to the coast. It's a very big, because you're not always here, right? But here's the basic exercise. Anytime I go to the coast, especially with my family, I say, hey, I am staying right here. I go to my local tsunami evacuation map. I confirm that, yes, I am in the zone of a local tsunami, and this is the closest spot anywhere in the green where I'm going to be above the wave. And then especially if you've got children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren in the mix, you need to take a walk with them. Take a walk. You need to walk from wherever you spend most of your time up to that evacuation zone. Again, because we're retraining our brains. We've got to always assume this happens at 3 o'clock in the morning, okay, when we're tired, we're scared, right? So getting my kids to take that walk one time, we're trying to create a visual mental memory so that we are ready to do this very same walk right after a 5-minute shaking event. So never underestimate the importance of creating a visual memory in your mind of where to go. And why are we doing this on foot? Because you're going to be on foot. Because there are 2 reasons to do it on foot. For one, what just happened to the roads? Bam, they're gone. Okay, the road structure that you rely on, it's out. Secondly, the most direct path between one elevation to the next is almost always on foot. Okay, roads ready to say, how am I going to get this person to the top of the hill as fast as possible? Roads are not built with that in mind, right? So going on foot is going to be a much more expedient way to get to high ground. Now, something that was asked to me that I'm going to try and answer, and your local resources might have a better answer than I do. But someone asked me, it's like, so my home is in the tsunami zone. What is the point, or how should I go about building up a supply? So I want to give you an idea of the answer that I gave to this person. So if you live in the tsunami zone, if your home is actually inside of it, what I would do, if I could, is, here, I live in the tsunami zone. If I've got a friend or a family member or someone that I can trust who's outside the tsunami zone, I would have a little go bag in my home, a little go bag, and I'd have a bigger supply in my friend's garage. Does that not make sense? Again, there's a business opportunity here. People Airbnb-ing their garages, but just a thought to leave you with, so that, there we go. I'm going there right before the wave comes, and there's all of my stuff. Just a thought. There might be a smarter one. Questions? All the way to the back. All the way to the back.
So is the 10 minutes include the 5 minutes of shaking?
No. 5 minutes of shaking, then 10 minutes before the first tsunami arrives. Did you catch that? First. There are probably going to be 5 or 6. It's probably going to take about 2 hours for the entire tsunami sequence to play out. Usually the second and third tsunamis are bigger than the first. It takes a while. It's not just one wave, it's many waves. Yes?
Is there any local information in the room about traversal to get to a spot with natural elements in your way? Like, say, like large trees that fall during storms. Like, should one be avoiding or having special materials to help get through certain natural impediments that would not be the case in the city?
I'm thinking for one, that's one more reason to go on foot. Because right. Because getting around a tree in your truck, hard. Getting around a tree on foot, much easier. Secondly, be mindful of power lines. Just thinking about that. It's just not realistic for you to be like evacuating with a chainsaw, though. You know what I mean? So it's one more reason to go on foot. It's a lot easier to get around some of the hazards in your way. But yes, I will invite you to talk to your local resources. They might have a better answer than I do. Anything else?
And that you know your evacuation route before the disaster happens. And do as he's saying, as Steve is recommending, walk it. See what might be in your way, and have an alternative route if you think something is going to be impeding your progress. Don't wait for the disaster to figure out where you're supposed to go. And the other thing I just tag on to is we do have a couple of clusters who are in the inundation zone, and they all have stored their stuff out of the inundation zone. Or you can make friends and have a place to be.
Oh, I'm going to steal that one. That's pretty cute. That's pretty cute. Okay. One more.
So when you talk about your personal experience, could you spend a little bit of time talking about post-earthquake tsunami and kind of mental health issues? I think that's one of the things that we we're so focused on prepared, kind of what we need to do in the classes, whatever, but I don't know that we spend much time thinking about the broader community mental health challenges that we would run into.
I will endeavor. And actually the mental health exercises are already taking place right now. Believe it or not. I'll come back to that. And I'm going to, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that one thing that I would also stress is to have go bag, water, food, extra clothing, all that, maybe even a little camp stove in your car. You know, I worry about, you know, what if I'm up at Costco? What if I'm, you know, up in Warrenton area? You know, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get to any higher ground. That bridges are going to be out. You know, I'm not going to be in my car. How fast can I walk? I mean, it's flat, flat, flat up there. But if I have things in my car and I'm lucky, you know, whatever. So think about having a good supply of things in duffel bags or backpacks in your car that you can take with you or shelter in your car.
Great suggestion. Okay, I'm going to pick up the pace. Sometimes I speak so fast and sometimes I just take my time. This is one of those times that's like, wow, I'm really going slow. So we're going to go fast, finish, and last questions, then closing remarks. You ready? Here we go. Let's talk about the aftermath of the earthquake. Okay, earthquake just happened. You got through it, okay? Then the next question, let's just say that you're in your home. Well, the next thing that's going to happen is we're getting ready for aftershocks, okay? But we are on our way. Actually, I want to frame something a little bit differently here. How many of you are inside the tsunami zone? How many of you are outside the tsunami zone? Okay? Those of you outside the tsunami zone, this is for you. Those of you inside the tsunami zone, you are getting out of the tsunami zone. Got it? Okay. If you are inside the tsunami zone, this piece is not for you. Outside the tsunami zone, this is for you. You just went through the earthquake, and then one of the first decisions you need to make is whether to stay inside your home or get outside your home. It's one of the first decisions. And it's a judgment call, y'all. This is when you listen to your instincts and say, am I safer to remain inside or am I safer outside? In almost all cases, you're likely to be safer outside of your home after the initial earthquake because of the aftershocks. Make sense? You got through this building, great, it's okay. You got through the 5 minutes of shaking, I would get out of the building immediately afterwards. Unless there are fumes and fires and flames and whatever going on outside. Then you might be safer staying inside. Make sense? Judgment. What is the condition? And should I go outside or stay inside? Once I've made the decision, now we're starting to take care of each other, okay? Especially if you're leaving your home, get your first aid kit, get trained by the Medical Reserve Corps if you can. Start taking care of each other, first aid, CPR, all the things, because the first responders are not going to be able to take care of an entire community. I'm thinking about gas. Okay, I would take a look at your gas. Do you smell gas? Do you hear gas hissing from your home? Do you see the dials of your gas mains spinning like crazy? In those cases, I would turn off your gas. If you suspect a gas leak, hold on.
No gas in Tillamook County.
Propane tanks, but big ones, 250 gallons.
You caught Steve Eberlein not doing all his homework. Forget about this. Let's just forget that. Blah, blah, blah. Next. I
would still turn off at your tanks.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. We would turn off at our tanks because we are concerned about fires and preventing fires. Fires oftentimes will double the damage of the initial earthquake because they spread and they're very, very difficult to put out. So if you see any fire in your vicinity, I would put it out as quickly as possible. You remember Loma Prieta? Remember that one? doubled the damage from that San Francisco earthquake in 1989, the fires did. So if you see any fire, make sure you take your fire extinguisher, which 100% of you have in your home right now, make sure that it's actually charged up, and put out any small fire as quickly as possible so that they do not spread. If you've never put out a fire, pull the pin, squeeze the handle, point it at the base of the fire, not the top. First responders, anything to add?
Yeah. If the fire is more than you can handle inside of a building, exit the building.
There we go.
Anything else?
Anything else?
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. I appreciate you being here. If you don't have any fire in your vicinity, this is absolutely wonderful. I would then take your fire extinguisher and put it on your front sidewalk, or put it in the hallway of your apartment building. That way, before your neighbor shares their fire with you, you have shared your fire extinguisher from them. Right? Because fires spread, so make your fire extinguisher available. Next, and this is classic prepare your neighborhood stuff, get a sign, write okay or help on it. Oh, look at that! And put it on your front door. If you're okay, it's important to let people know that you're okay, so that when first responders come through your neighborhood, they know that you are not amongst their priority, or yes, you are amongst their priority, right? And this will oftentimes start kind of a viral effort of prioritizing and triaging within your neighborhood. Let's talk about water. Let's talk about sewage. Oops. And I got this number wrong, because you guys are now 4 weeks. 4 weeks of water, because we are anticipating the water structure to be completely obliterated, and it'll take at least 4 weeks to start bringing in external water sources. So 4 weeks of water for one person equals how many gallons?
At least 1 gallon a day, preferably 2.
At least 30 gallons per person, which is so much water. It is a lot of water, but roughly half of that water is actually for drinking and hydration. The other half is for sanitation, for cooking, everything like that. 30 gallons per person. I want to give you a few tips on how to go about this. Different ways for different folks. For me, I've done aquatainers. These are about 7 gallons a piece. So having 4 of these per person just about does the trick. I love that they are easy to do the math, because I'm not good at math. I really do not like how heavy they are. Hence, not for everyone. Another good option is called water brick. Water bricks are nice in that they are light and stackable. You can actually kind of configure them like Legos in the back of your closet. They're cool that way. I do not like that they're super expensive. Okay, not best for everyone. The other thing I'm working on right now is actually a water catchment system. So I've got rain barrels outside my home, which I've used safety-proof straps to secure against the house. And I have a reverse osmosis water filtration system to clean out the heavy metals that come off of my roof line. If you've got a dozen questions for me, talk to me afterwards. But it's just a supplemental source of water. Your water heater is also a source of water, but you do need to make sure it's secured, because otherwise it's going to tip over, potentially cause a spark and a fire itself, and you're going to lose potentially about 2 weeks of drinking water for a person. Before you drain a water heater, though, I need you to consider a couple things. Again, this is mostly for people living outside the tsunami hazard zone. Before you can drain a water heater to drink it, you need to make the assumption that you've got this whole terrible sewage slew of a mess taking place underneath the ground outside your home that could potentially contaminate water coming into your water heater. So you need to go in front of your house and actually shut off your water main, and you need to open up the hot water taps in the upper floors of your home before you can drain a water heater. I know that's a little bit convoluted. Again, come talk to me, a dozen questions. I bet they've got answers over there as well.
Page on the WASH website, additional information. It's I think it's a page put out by CDC, maybe, or ready.gov, on how to access water from your
There you go. Thank you very much. Oh, toilets. I went one too many. Toilets. We know from Christchurch, New Zealand, that your toilets are not going to flush for a really, 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 really long time. They did not have flushing toilets in Christchurch, New Zealand for at least 1 month after the 2011 earthquake. They had lots of portaloos, though, as they call them over there. But portaloos do not pop up out of the ground magically. So until then, you need to put together an earthquake toilet system. This is cute. But what you're actually going to do is shown at that table. We need 2 buckets. We need one for number 1. We need one for number 2. The key is you need to separate the number 1 and number 2. My little dude found this super gross and it was super fun. But separating them is going to diminish the risk of contagion after an earthquake. Let's talk about that number 2 bucket, because it's the most key of them. For the number 2 bucket to work, you need a liner. It could be simply garbage bags. You need a source of carbon. Could be dried leaves. It could be sawdust. It could be peat moss. Something to throw on top of your number 2 after number 2ing. That's going to diminish the smell, and it's also going to diminish the rats who are going to be attracted to what's going on in your backyard, which is going to make your home unlivable. So you got to have the carbon, and you got to have a place to sit, y'all, because you're going to be using this a lot. If you're super cheap like I am, you can always go to the back alley of your favorite Asian restaurant where you're going to find discarded 5-gallon soy sauce containers. You can go to a local carpenter and get all the sawdust that you want. You can take a pool noodle, slice it right down the middle, and voila, you have made an earthquake toilet. Do it with your grandkids, tell your friends, take pictures. Gas and electricity, okay, propane and electricity. We know full well that these are 100% disrupted. Northridge, California, 1994. Mexico, 2017. Japan, 2011. Expect a region-wide blackout that is going to leave things incredibly, incredibly dark. To give you an idea of how dark it will be after an earthquake, Northridge, California, this is the outskirts of Los Angeles. After their 1994 earthquake, which took place really early in the morning, people were calling 911, calling 911, calling 911 because a mysterious gas had appeared in the sky, which 911 had to tell them was actually the Milky Way. What does that tell you about how dark things get? Right? When your community and the neighboring community does not have light, things look like they did during Greek times, which is very, very different. So what do we do about that? We get ready to camp. Okay? This is like an involuntary camping mission. We just need a means of keeping ourselves warm and dry and lit. So if you've got camping gear, if you've got fishing gear, if you've got hunting gear, all those tents and tarps and emergency blankets and ponchos, the name of the game is keep yourself warm and dry. We can also use these same pieces of equipment for water catchment. Anybody know what a life straw is? Portable water filtration system that can make puddle water drinkable, untreated water drinkable. But one thing I want you to know about portable water filtration systems is they are not built to pull fuel or chemicals out of water. I want you to make that distinction. If you think a puddle is contaminated with fuel, this is a no-go. If it's just iffy water that's been sitting around for a while, this is a good one. Okay, it pulls out protozoa and bacteria, not gas. Okay, again, this is stuff that will work off of the grid, barbecues. Think about nighttime. Oh, it's so dark. Bling. I love that. One of the things that I always do, in addition, of course, to having matches, man, if you trim your trees during the spring or whenever people are supposed to trim your trees, man, I keep all the branches. I keep all the logs. I live in Portland, Oregon, okay? We have a whole stack of wood just for the aftermath of the Cascadia earthquake. Means of staying lit. I would be thinking about not battery-powered means of lighting, but think about crank-powered and solar-powered means of lighting, because you're not going to get batteries into Manzanita until 2087, okay? So make sure that everything you have can work in the long run. All right, let's see, what comes next? Someone already mentioned having things in your car. And let's consider that if you are out on the road, you're going to be stuck for a while. Not only because of the bridges, not only because of the roads, but just the congestion is the name of the game afterwards. So I'm thinking, what are the things I want to have in my car should I need to make a walk for a while? These are the things. I'd want some food. I'd want a water filtration system. I'd want a poncho in case I'm walking. I'd want an emergency blanket to stay warm. I would want a first aid kit to take care of the little stuff. I would want medication, always, always with me. I would also add maybe a solar-powered phone charger. Though your phone is going to be super iffy after an earthquake, but nonetheless, can't hurt. Let's think about where you're actually going to resupply yourself. What people often do after an earthquake is that's when they run to the grocery store, only to find, of course, that money doesn't work because money with credit cards it relies on electricity, right? So credit cards don't work when there's no electricity, so do make sure to have some cash, actual cash, 5s, 10s, and 20s. Also consider that at the grocery store, things are super, super dangerous. I really don't want to go to the grocery store after an earthquake. It's dangerous. It's dangerous. It's physically dangerous. It's socially dangerous. There's a lot of desperation there. This is Trinidad and Tobago. So before I would ever consider going to the grocery store, I would consider first going back into my home, which is going to be rearranged radically by the earthquake. And I would only do that if it was safe. If I could get back into my home for food, I need to eat the right things in the right order. You ever thought about this? There's an order to which you eat things after an earthquake. What do you eat first? What do you eat first? You got 4 hours. You got 4 hours. 4 hours to eat your refrigerated foods. 4 hours, that's not much. Clear it out. A lot of mustard to get through. Next. Frozen food. 24 to 48 hours. 24 to 48 hours to safely get through your frozen food. So spark up the barbecue, go to town. Then, non-refrigerated perishables. It's banana time, it's bread time. In that order. And then finally, only after you've eaten all of that, now you get to the shelf-stable stuff. Now you get to the pastas, to the rices, to the freeze-dried food, to all that food supply. This is, of course, the food supply that you are building up for the earthquake, the stuff that will last a long time. I want something that lasts at least 5 years, better than that, 10, 20, 30 years. For myself, I've decided for my family, what works has been Mountain House. It's got 30-year shelf life. It's semi-edible. It's all right. It's all right. It's easy to prepare, which is a big one. My wife is allergic to everything under the planet. So we've also gotten Nutri-Store. This is just like really plain stuff that, again, will last like 30 years. Black beans, rice, like freeze-dried carrots and stuff like that. But in any case, when it comes to building up that 4-week supply of food, these are the kinds of foods that you're looking for. Also, don't forget about dogs and cats. Okay? I'd keep a supply for them that I never touch. And think about all the other things you get at the grocery store that are going to run out. Things like tampons, things like deodorant, things like toothpaste, all that jazz. Build up that supply. And the last thing I want to talk about is medications. So medications are a problem. They're not going to be, your local pharmacy is not going to refill critical medications for a really long time. Okay, we know this. Also, if you call your insurer right now and say, hey, I live in a subduction zone, I really want to build up my medication supply, they're going to say, we'd really like to encourage you to do so. And that'll be the end of the conversation because they're not going to cover it. They'd say, go get them, champ. We will give you $0 for that effort. So here's how you can go about building up a supply. I'm assuming that most of you are working with a 30-day prescription if you do have an important medication. What I would start doing is refilling on day 25 for a little bit. If you refill on day 25, then when you get that new prescription, you've got 5 days left, which you can start to put into a kit. If you can keep this up for 5 weeks, 6 weeks, then suddenly you've got 1 month of medication. It just took about a month, and it just took, 6 months or something like that to build up that supply. Note the expiration date on your kitted supply, and then every once in a while you just need to swap it out with a brand new prescription.
Yay.
Yay. That's it. We've really reached the end. Do we have any last questions?
Yes.
Yes.
Can you describe what a tsunami actually is, like a surf wave versus a slow moving?
Yeah. So the difference between a wave and a tsunami is volume. And let me tell you what I mean by that. So you've got waves coming in over and over and over again, which is just an uplifting of a piece of ocean. Here I come and out I go. A tsunami is in fact an entire leveling up of a huge piece of ocean. So if a wave comes in and it has the entire ocean following it, it carries a lot further, okay? The front of it looks like a typical wave, but a typical wave doesn't have the entire ocean following behind it. Does that make sense? That's one of the big differences. I don't know if that answered that well.
So it might not be super high. It's just that there's this volume pushing behind it.
That's right. It's about the thrust, right? There's the height of the wave itself, but then there's the run up. There's a difference, right? There's the height of the wave, but then the fact that you've got the entire ocean pushing behind it, it means it runs much further up. It can run up 40 feet, 50 feet, 70 feet, 90 feet, depending on the topography. And also depending on the topography, maybe it comes in 100 feet inland or 2 miles inland. The real difference is elevation. That's why you're seeking height. It's not about how far away you need to get from the shoreline, it's about how high up you need to get from the ocean.
Also, I think another critical issue is with a tsunami, if I'm correct, is that it doesn't happen just once. There are several waves that come in.
Many. It should take at least 2 or 3 hours for all the tsunamis to come through.
Is it correct that the tsunami is generated by that slip, that fall of the coastline that then makes that gap, the more depth in the ocean, and that's what creates the wave?
So let's do this together. Let's do a mental exercise, okay? We're all at the bottom of the ocean, okay? We're just below the floor of the ocean, all of us, okay? And here is the bottom of the ocean. Now let's imagine that we take the ocean floor and we push it up as hard as we can. What's going to happen to the surface? Right? Imagine doing it in a bathtub. If you need to go just smaller scale, let's just say you put a frisbee in the bottom of a bathtub and you jerk the frisbee up. What's going to happen to the surface water of the bathtub? It's going to swell, and it's going to go in all directions at once. So think small scale. The same exact thing happens on large scale. When you thrust up, the floor is at the bottom of the ocean, like this, the water displaces. Trillions of gallons go east, west, north, and south simultaneously.
Now, the Thai tsunami, I think it was the Sri Lanka also.
Yes.
You know, there were reports that the wave went way out 100 feet or so, and that's when people were trapped there for whatever reason, trying to get fish or whatever like that. Does that normally happen, or was that just the occurrence in that topography?
No, it's a good question. What you're talking about is called a negative wave. So a negative wave, here's a tsunami. Okay, here's a regular wave. Okay, you with me? There's a regular wave. Now, with a tsunami, the wavelength is longer. So here's the bottom of the wave. Here's the top of the wave, and we're talking dozens of miles, and here's the bottom of the wave again, okay? Every wave has a peak, and it has a nadir. Now sometimes the nadir of the wave, the bottom, arrives first, in which case the ocean disappears. That's actually what happened in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka saw a negative wave before the tsunami. And when the negative wave arrived, and this is getting to some of the closing experience, there was a manifest destiny moment. Do you know what I mean by that? How did we populate the West? We said, go find the land, put out a flag, it's yours. There was a moment like that in Sri Lanka that lasted about 15 minutes. That suddenly, I'm a fisherman, and the beach just got a lot longer in front of me. And people were going out and trying to claim land. They were trying to gather fish. They were trying to gather coral. That there was this miraculous moment of claiming something that was spectacular and unknown. And of course, the most intrepid entrepreneurs in Sri Lanka were also the first to perish in that event. So, if the ocean ever disappears in front of you, we need to suppress curiosity, and we need to invite fear, and we need to start running. But in most cases, listen, we're not, the negative wave, I'm not worried about that so much in this area, because if it's a big event like that, either it's a distant tsunami, okay, you just heard about it in the news, that hey, there was a 9-point earthquake in Alaska, and your local emergency manager said, there's going to be a tsunami coming at 3:30. In which case, okay, you're getting out. Or it was a big local event. You just went through a big local earthquake. What do? Drop, cover, hold, evacuate. That was a long-winded answer. Anything else? Anything else?
So with Juan Fuca goes under the North Atlantic plate, and it's been pushing it up.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, it collapses. Well, we're at the very western edge of the North American plate.
Yes, we are.
And when it collapses, we are going to go lower than we are now. So if we're at 0 sea level, we'll be in at -5.
So, now I understand what you're, go ahead, finish your question. I know where you're going.
It seems like even if we're running up, we're going to have to run up further, because what people say now are inundation zones are for this, not for that.
I understand what you're saying. So the phenomena you're talking about is called subsidence. Or is it subsidence? Thank you. I never know how to pronounce that one. It's good having a geologist in the room. Subsidence. There we go. And that is when, yes, the edge of the continent collapses. I do not know if emergency managers took that into consideration, but we're talking maybe a 5 to 10 foot collapse, not a 100-foot collapse, right? So I don't think it's going to have a huge impact on the tsunami evacuation lines. The other thing that sometimes happens is the opposite. That sometimes land gets pushed up. So either can happen.
So the fact that it's several that the tsunami waves can continue, you said, can go for 20 minutes?
2 to 3 hours, probably.
2 to 3 hours.
Yeah.
Are those caused by aftershocks, or why is that? Why are there continuous waves coming in? It's just the ocean catching up with itself?
Throw a rock in the water.
Yeah, okay.
And same idea, right? Many ripples. It's not one unified ripple that comes out, it's many. Same idea.
Okay, thanks.
You might touch on this when you do your personal experience when you're explaining that, but what is it like with people? What are people like?
Okay, I think I will move into my closing comments of what it was like in the aftermath. Lydia and I were very, very close to the coast. We were on the sheltered side of Sri Lanka, though. In other words, the tsunami came from the east, and we were on the west side of the island, which means the east side of Sri Lanka was hit hard, And the west side was a bit sheltered by the island itself. We were also in the most populous place of Sri Lanka, and they had a big seawall. So we did not see it itself, and we were not in a coastal destination because I was recovering from dengue fever. Okay. Yeah, which is a bummer, man. But it kind of saved our bacon because we would have probably seen the wave been traveling. But as far as how people react, the first thing I would get yourself ready for is rampant, crazy rumors. That's one of the scariest parts of the aftermath of a big event, is the disinformation that is going to travel like wildfire immediately after, because there's a paucity of reliable information. So give that some pause. One of the really I can think of two really important, really scary rumors that took place that were believed because it was such an unbelievable event. The first was that Thailand is no longer a country. Just gone. But this was the rumor that you think we got it bad. Thailand doesn't exist. It's just not there anymore. And the event itself was so huge, it felt kind of believable for a moment, and you're just trying to scale. It's like, what do I do with that information? The second rumor that came through that was really scary, it was a 9.1 subduction zone earthquake. There was a rumor that a 9.8 had hit in the same spot. And having known the tsunami just hit, we had to calculate how much bigger is the next tsunami going to be. If a 9.1 creates this, what's a 9.8? 9.8 earthquake is physically impossible for planet Earth, by the way. But we don't know anything. We don't know anything. So that's part of the reason that get your plan together, know where you need to go, get the things that you need, and just really focus on some of the things that I talked about today and some of the things that you're going to learn from these local resources. You're gonna encounter like crazy, scary misinformation from your well-meaning neighbors who are really, really scared. Especially fear breeds misinformation in the absence of reliable news. So get ready to ground what you hear from people with your own eyes. Always ask, where did you hear that? Who did you hear that from? Did you see that yourself? Like really challenge the misinformation that you're hearing with your actual experience, and you focus on getting yourself where you need to be. And also, if Thailand is no longer a country, what the hell do I do with that? How should that be calculating? It's like, oh, well, Bangkok's doesn't exist anymore. How much water should I have then? What? There's no correlation, y'all. There's no correlation. So that's one of the most important things that I would get ready for. Misinformation, and you challenge people when you hear misinformation. And the other thing that like really, I don't know why I always come back to this story, but the moment I understood how big this event was when I was at the airport in the immediate aftermath, and I saw responders from all around the world coming in straight off the airplane in full-on search and rescue jumpsuits. I saw them going to local taxis, and they asked one simple question: take me to the ocean. How non-specific is that? It was the non-specificity of that question from search and rescuers coming from Italy that led me to understand for the first time, it's like, whatever happened was huge. And as far as mental health, what you guys are doing right now is a mental health exercise, because you're actually in the preparedness process right now with the people who are going to be standing by your side in the aftermath should this happen during your lifetime. And there's nothing that people need more than support of community, and that community needs to be built beforehand. So you guys are doing the mental health work that needs to be done right now. And that's that.
Thank you.
Thank you.